Hey everybody, Karyn Bryant for MMA H.E.A.T. I'm here with Ricardo Lamas and his sweet baby girl, Camila. Hi, sweet baby. Listen, only one of you will be in action in the octagon next weekend. That, of course, is you at UFC 225 against Mirsad Bektic. So, you were in action in December. We were up in Winnipeg, I think it was, right? So I kind of feel like this Chicago card was one you had to get on, huh?
Yeah, it was one that, as soon as we heard they were coming back to Chicago, we called up UFC and asked to be on it. So it's been a long time since I've been able to fight in my hometown, since 2012. The past few years when they've come back, our schedules just haven't linked up.
Right.
But it worked out perfectly this time. So I'm glad I'm able to be a part of it.
My question to you is, oftentimes you hear fighters say, they like to be at home because they like to sleep in their own bed and all that. But also I've heard the flip side of that where people have said they didn't switch, flip the switch because they were in their own bed. There was something about going to a hotel, being at fight week, being away that kind of turned it for them. So what do you think you're going to do, and which kind of brain do you have before a fight?
Well, I'm going to do a little of both as far as being at the hotel or being at home. Obviously, I think the night before the weigh-ins, the night before the fight, I'll spend at the hotel, because otherwise I got these guys waking me up at 6 a.m.
Right.
Just to get adequate sleep and get my mindset right. But besides that, I think having the family around during fight week is a definite plus because it helps you de-stress and it helps take your mind off the fight that you're obsessing about otherwise if you're sitting in a hotel room by yourself.
Oh my God, I could see, look, you're just so sweet. It would be such a distraction. Oh my goodness. And so she's only, how old, right? Because I feel like before your last fight, your baby she was close to being due, right?
Yeah, she was, my wife was like almost 9 months pregnant around my last fight. So she's 4 months.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Awesome. Awesome. So when you said you wanted to get on the Chicago card, was it one of those things where you said, give me anybody, or were there specific names you wanted? We know you got, kind of, I don't want to say cheated out of that Aldo fight, but, you were supposed to fight him and you never got it. So were you able to put a name behind it, or were they just like, hey, Mirsad's available and this is what you're getting?
Yeah, it was basically like that. We asked for the Chicago card. We asked what fighters would be available.
Yeah.
And then Sean Shelby first came back to us with Mirsad, and he said that would be the only option. And then a little bit later, he came with the Yair fight. So, that whole debacle went down. We said we'll fight whoever. Yair had originally accepted the first time that Sean talked to him. But then when he found out that I had accepted to Mirsad Bektic before even finding out about Yair, he, pulled out for some reason. So I don't know what the whole reason was behind that. But so it ended up with Mirsad, and, it's a good fight. Both guys are tough, so both of them would have been a great challenge.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. Yair, a very flashy fighter, and I feel like in a way gives you maybe more opportunities for a fight of the night kind of fight. So, they're different, definitely, but you really think you didn't have a preference? You wouldn't prefer one over the other?
No, to me it didn't really matter. I just wanted the chance to fight at home. So, it was, we verbally accepted to Mirsad, and we were waiting to hear back on confirmation from his side. But then Sean came back to us with the Yair fight, so it kind of threw us off, and we're like, okay, well, whatever, we'll fight whoever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So then he went back to try and tie it up with Yair, and then Yair declined it. So, it doesn't matter to me who the opponent is. Mirsad is an aggressive fighter as well. We've seen him fight before. So he could definitely be a potential fight of the night also.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those guys who people are less familiar with, but that doesn't mean they're any less dangerous, certainly. Right. So are you a guy that watches a lot of tape on people or not?
I'm in the middle ground. I don't obsess over watching tape, but I don't stay away from it. I'll watch a few fights and I'll know their tendencies. Mm-hmm. But mainly during my camp is working on myself and being able to adapt to any situation in the cage.
So what do you think then are his tendencies? Is this a fight where you feel like you're going to need to use more of your wrestling? Do you feel like it's going to be better to keep it on the feet? What do you think would be the best angle of attack against him?
I think mixing it up and using a little bit of everything would throw him off the most. So, he's most comfortable being on top of somebody. So if I get the opportunity to put him on his back, I'm sure he's not going to be very comfortable there. But I'm not going to be sitting there getting, looking for a takedown every 5 seconds. So if the opportunity arises, I'll take it. but I'm looking to show a complete fight this time.
It's funny because after your last fight, we were talking and we were in the airport, and you took it so well. I think, I kind of feel like I was more upset by it. I know clearly you were upset, but to remind people, you fought Josh Emmett, who came in overweight, and he knocked you out in the first round. And how tough was that week for you? I know you really did handle it like a total pro, but it couldn't have been what you wanted, and it had to, I feel, be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, it sucked. Anytime you lose, it sucks, especially under circumstances like that. Where your opponent doesn't make weight, and as soon as I found out he didn't make weight, my head was kind of taken out of the game, just because 2 fights before that, Oliveira came in 9 pounds overweight, and then I was supposed to fight Aldo. They took him away from me, and they were kind of juggling around trying to find someone. They come up with Josh Emmett, who is a fairly unknown guy, but a real tough fighter. I knew who he was before, so I knew the risks going into the fight. But it just always sucks when the other party doesn't fulfill their contractual obligations, and you end up losing anyway. So the stinger.
Yeah, well, it sucks. And at that point, I know that was in December, but in terms of this year, up until Liverpool, when Molly McGann lost her fight, everybody who had fought overweight won. And so now it's 7-1. And obviously that's something that people are talking about with the Darren Till situation as well. Guys like Dominic Cruz are very outspoken about it. I think people are purposely cheating. And, because the penalty isn't so bad, maybe they lose 20%, maybe they lose 30%, but, the win is worth more. So, you've been on the receiving end of that crappy situation. Do you think people are specifically doing that now as a strategy?
I don't think they're specifically doing it. I think there does need to be more harsh punishments when you miss weight. Like, forget this 20%, 30%. You lose your show money because you didn't show. You didn't make weight. You didn't show. Your entire show purse goes to your opponent. And now if you want to make money, you have to win the fight. And apart from that, I think you should be suspended for a year from competing at that weight class if you don't make weight.
Nice.
You start doing stuff like that, I think you'll be seeing a lot less people miss weight.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I get it, stuff sort of happens, but also to me, I'm kind of thinking like, you knew what day you had to weigh something, so maybe just don't come in at 20 pounds over on Monday. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not like it's a surprise what you need to weigh.
Right.
So it's frustrating. I know the thing is too, is I've talked to a lot of fighters about this, and I don't know how you felt, but when they came to you with the Josh Emmett situation, fighters have said that you end up, the one who made weight sometimes ends up feeling like the bad guy, right? So John Dodson had declined that fight in in Brazil that time, when Prazeres, I think it was overweight, or maybe I'm mixing up the person, but I thought that was smart of him because he had a lot to lose, losing his place in the rankings. But I've heard from fighters that if they come to you and the other guy missed weight, and they're like, Ricardo, man, they missed weight, but you got to take the fight. Like, it's almost that you're in the hot seat more than the other guy. Have you felt that way?
A little bit. I haven't felt like the pressure from them. They'll ask, they'll try and work with you and say, what can we do to make the fight happen? Not like you have to take this fight. So they are understanding. And how could they blame us for it when the other person misses weight? Right. It's ridiculous.
But it's almost like because the fight won't happen, right? Unless you say yes.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's tough. So now when you look at your division now, we got some interesting things going on. I mean, it was, I don't think people really, some people did obviously expect Brian Ortega to be able to take Frankie out like that. So we'll see Ortega and Max. Do you think Max is the kind of guy that's going to be able to stay at the top of the division for a while?
Yeah, he's young and he continues to improve. I don't think he's even hit the prime of his career yet. So I think he has the potential to stay at the top for quite a long time. And you could say the same thing about Ortega because he's another young guy coming up. And it seems like he just keeps getting better and better after every fight. So that's going to be a really interesting fight to watch. And hopefully I can make it there live.
Right. And you've been in the UFC for how long now?
Since 2011. I've been employed with Zuffa since 2009, though, with the WWE.
I mean, it's pretty great. And I'm just curious, obviously you still have plenty of time, but, we look around, we see Michael Bisping retiring. We see, people starting to hang up the gloves. And there really is a different young kind of fighters in there. Some people are arguing now that the people coming in are point fighters and they're just trying to score points. And the old school guys really just went out there and went to war. Do you see a shift in the kind of fighter that's coming in now and the kind of guys that you're facing as opposed to a few years ago?
I think people are trying to fight a little smarter and use the rules to their advantage for sure. That's going to, I think in a sport as young as this, we're going to see it evolve throughout the years. Back from when we think about when it first started, and it was literally style over style. And I remember the first time a triangle choke was thrown up there on Dan Severn, the announcers didn't even know what to call it.
Right.
So, it's just cool to see where the sport has come from and where it's going. But whether they're playing points or whatever, it's just it's fun to see the amount that each athlete has grown, and when they start out at a young age and how well-rounded they are. So it's cool to see, I think.
And when you look at your early fights and look at yourself now, where do you think you've made the biggest improvements? What are you like? What do you look at and be like, I see you, Ricardo. You got good at that.
You get to ask my wife. I remember showing her some of my old fights, and she's like, 2 minutes in, she's like, boring. Basically, I get a hold of someone and just smother until they tapped out or whatever. Definitely my stand-up game has improved a lot since my first fights. I was a wrestler when I started this, so I came a long way. And if you look at my record, my knockouts, my submissions, they're almost equal. So I feel like I can do a little bit of everything.
Nice. Well, you can certainly multitask here with babies and interviews. I'll let you get away in just a second here. The last thing I have to ask, though, if anybody looks at your Instagram or anything like that, you've got the sweetest coffee hookup right now. So is it Cafe Lamas? Like, what is going on there, my friend?
I'm Cuban. We have Cuban coffee running through our blood. So my wife is a coffee addict as well, and her dad was actually the one that helped us build that whole little coffee setup at our house, the coffee station and juice station. I couldn't have done it at a worse time. I asked him to do it like after my last fight when my wife, she literally went into labor as we were working on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I didn't hear the end of that for a while, but luckily we got it done and it looks good.
Nice. Well, tell her we got our floors redone only a few weeks before I popped. So I had to go to somebody else's house. We had to clear it out. I was massive. So it could be worse. It could definitely be worse. Listen, do you have a prediction for the way this fight will end or how you see it playing out?
If you look at my fights and all my returns after a loss, I come back with a vengeance and just relentless. So that's what you're going to see this time in the cage.
Nice. Really, really looking forward to it. Ricardo, thanks for talking with me today. You go Mr. Mom right now. You go take those cutie pies out. Bye, Camila. Oh my God, look at those cheeks. So sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'll be at the desk working, so really looking forward to watching you fight. And have a great time being a home game and everything. Just hopefully all the people hitting you up for tickets and all that isn't too much of a distraction.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten a little bit of that, but I just tell them that I don't have tickets.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Ricardo. Well, thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.